everyone, and welcome to the 43rd episode of NiinaN Knitting. I'm Niina, and you can find me on Ravelry as Niinima, and on Instagram I'm NiinaN Knitting. I finally made a picture with all that info. I hope I'll remember to pop that on the screen. This is not the sort of scenery I thought I would be showing you at the beginning of this episode. I had planned to show you, finished spring, but well, actually that is what I am showing you at the moment. This is April 9th for you in 2019. It was totally different last week. The snow had already started to melt. I am currently standing on the ice on the lake near where I live, but there actually is a hole or an opening right in that direction in the ice. So yeah, it is springtime, but well, it took a turn back to winter for a while. Nevertheless, I have some finished objects for you, 4 of them, and then I have 2 plans that I'm going to talk about. And those of you who have been following me on Instagram may have noticed a post that I made some time ago. And a couple of weeks ago I had an eye surgery. I think the retina of my right eye had, come off at the base of the eye, and it had to be fixed. And that's why this episode is a little different from the usual. You won't be seeing much of me except for the first little video clip showing the first FO, because well, my eye is getting better now, but whenever I'm outside I have to wear a patch over it so that I don't get anything in it. And inside I know that I keep squinting, and nobody wants to see that. So we'll just see how this goes and how I get used to the eye before next episode. But we will start with the first FO. Right, my first finished object after last episode is this pair. So these are the Indulge socks by Elizabeth White, and I'm just trying. I know I look horrendous because I have a trunk of tree where my head is. That's only so that I can see the camera, and I'm just hoping that you'll see the correct color in the sunlight. Maybe it'll be blowing out. This looks too dark. I don't know which is right. I'll have to see and write it on the screen maybe. So I had finished this first sock on my 3.0 millimeter, that's US size 2.5 needles last year in January. This was a test knit for Elizabeth, and everything was great, and I didn't find anything wrong in the pattern, and I really liked knitting it. But I have had stuff sort of queuing that once I had finished the test sock, then I'd do another thing, and then another thing, and then at one point cast on the second sock. Well, last time I showed you the second sock, which I had just cast on, and I was here knitting it, and after that I finished it. And I mean, I just love this pattern. I'm gonna show it the other way around so that the progress keeper won't be in the way. So it's knit caftan, and it has these really beautiful cables with twisted stitches, just a regular
uh, sort of slip stitch heel flap and gusset, and that's the French heel turn, I think, and then plain stockinette, of course, on the sole, and then these cables run down until the start of the foot, and they are just absolutely beautiful. I really thought it was interesting knitting them because there's always something to do, but I do have to admit that it does take a little bit of time because you have to mind the chart all the time. The yarn I used here is Dropsfabel, and the colorway is a turquoise. It's number 105. Really like these socks. They're beautiful, and when I finished knitting them, I didn't know who would get them. They're too big for my son, a little bit too small for my husband, and well, he doesn't go for patterned socks or socks of any other color than black. So that was not going to happen, but now we do know to whom we're going to give them as a present. So yay. FO number 1, no longer a UFO, an unfinished object, because last time I picked it up and it became a whip, and now it's a finished object, and a beautiful one too.
After my eye operation, I needed to do some garter, mainly garter, or a pattern that would not require looking at the instructions too much, or looking at my hands for that matter. And that's why I took this shawl I was knitting last time. This was a web. It's a pattern called River by Sylvia McFadden. It's designed for DK weight yarn, but I was using my leftover fingering weight yarn from last summer's Garter sock, and I just wanted to make something small from that. And I didn't want to hold it double, even though I could have, of course, and that would have made it DK weight. But since I wanted to use this as my main color, and that is actually Manos del Uruguay Alegría, and I can't read that now because my eyes aren't focusing right. But anyway, maybe you can see it. It's Locura Fluo. The colorway is called Locura Fluo, and it's 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and I think 400 meters in 100 grams or something. And I didn't want to hold it double because it's so very colorful, and I really like how it looks in the garter. It's really pretty, and it's super soft. It's really soft. This is where I was last time, and that's when I continued knitting it up. I think up until somewhere here, maybe I was following the pattern, or maybe here, I can't remember. Anyway, I was doing as the pattern told me, even though I was using fingering weight yarn, and I knew it would make it quite a small shawl, well, scarf, more like a scarf. But I just didn't want to stop and think about anything. So this color was my main color. It's from the first stage of the Garter sock. This green is from the second stage of the Garter sock. It's from Cauldron's Path Yarns, and it's their waxing moon base, 75-25, I think. Superwash merino 80-20 superwash merino nylon, and the colorway is called Spring Green. I wanted to use it all up because I didn't have a lot of it because I'd used it on a different stage too. But that was stage 2. That's stage 3. That's Novita Venla. Here's the rest of it. And so that's a fingering weight yarn, 75% wool, 25% nylon. That was my stage 3. And then, yeah, I think stage 4 was this gray, Vita Venla. It was color work sock, and I had this as a contrasting color, the green. That's why I really had a small nugget left at this point. And then the 5th stage, the last one that I finished, was this pink, and you can see it here and then here in the bind off. This is Lang Yavo Magic yarn. I think that's 75-25 also. Anyway, so that's what I had, and I wanted to use up the Manos de Uruguay, and then I knew I would run out of this green because I had just so little of it left. I do like the red, but I didn't want too much of the gray, so that's why I just didn't continue with using those. So after I'd run out of most of them, I think this was my own, the pretty wide strand of the red Novita Venla. And then I had just a little bit of the green, and that's where I ran out of it. And then I just did a bit with the red, and then the bind off with the pink Javor Magic. Yeah, it's pretty. It's not a big shawl. I think my daughter is gonna get it. It's about 60 some grams, but it's a nice project and very colorful. Goes nicely together with spring, with all the colors. And the pattern was really well written. If I'd used a double knitting weight, DK weight yarn, of course it would have been bigger, but this was where I wanted to use it, and I really like it.
Now, here's a blast from the past for those of you who have seen some of the early episodes of my podcast, because I used to make quite a few of these. These are reverses, or slipper socks as they are called on Ravelry. It's a pattern by Rea Järvenpää, a Finnish designer. And this is my pair number 31, I think. And yeah, so there, you start with a sock, and then you knit a lace band, and then these decoration stripes or whatever, crochet them. Or of course you can use your sewing needle and do the what's it called, the chain stitch or something, and then you knit the laces, and then you crochet the soles. Oops, this is marking that this is the left foot. Anyway, so the soles of the boot, shoe, slipper, sock, whatever, and then these the brims, and then this top part. These, of course, are to imitate the Converse sneakers. I did an Eye of Partridge heel here. These are for a friend of mine. She asked me, I'd say a few years ago if I could knit her or make her a pair of these in yellow. And I said I might. But you know, I've made so many of these that even though it's sort of interesting to see how they look in the end. But they've lost the I don't know, je ne sais quoi, for me, because I've made so many. But yeah, the yarns I used. Usually, what I use for these is just our basic Novita 7 veljestä, which is a very basic yarn here in Finland. It's quite heavy weight, 200 meters in 100 grams, and it's 75% wool, 25% polyamide. And I usually use this for the whole project. This time, however, I only used it for the white and the black, that's for sure. I think the soles are also in 7 veljestä, but I can't be sure. It was in my stash and just couldn't, there was no ball band or anything to see. However, Novita 7 veljestä does not have this gorgeous yellow color. They only have sort of a mustardy yellow, and I wasn't too interested in knitting anything or these in that colorway, so I stumbled upon this in a grocery store in a supermarket. So this is Virta sukkalanka, the same sort of weight as 7 veljestä. It comes in 150 grams balls, as does the 7 veljestä very often, not always. This has 70% wool and 30% polyamide, and there are 300 meters in 150 grams, which means 200 meters in 100 grams. So this was, I when I saw this, I immediately thought about this friend of mine. I think I showed you this yarn when I bought it, but that was a long time ago, and it's taken me quite a while to get around to knitting this pair, but now I have, and I'm really happy with them. It took me about a week maybe, and I'm pretty sure you can hear the snow falling down from the branches of trees. I'm gonna lift this up. This all happened, oops, sorry. This all happened in a matter of maybe 2 hours here in Jyväskylä. It's kind of crazy. Most of snow had already melted, but today winter made a comeback, and now we have all this. It's very, very wet, and since I'm under the trees, it keeps falling on my head and everything. But yeah, this is finished. Spring for you.
Here's my fourth and final FO this time. It's a pair of socks for my daughter, and I don't have sock blockers of her size, so here they are in her feet. This pattern is called Kristalli from Pirjo Iivonen, and this is the book that I have from her. But it's also available on Ravelry. It's a paid-for pattern, so you can purchase it as a single pattern also. These are actually adult size socks. I used the stitch count in the pattern, but I knew that the yarn that I was using, which is from Amy from Stranded Dye Works, and I'm trying to find the ball band. Yeah, here it is. Oops, where it is? There it is. the stranded dye works. Oasis is what the base was called. Nowadays, it's just merino nylon, 75-25. And the colorway is called Sister, and I got it from her a while back, and that's when I decided that I'm gonna make my daughter a pair of socks from that. And here they are finally. So yeah, the yarn is pretty, it is fingering weight, 400 meters in 100 grams, but it's not at all spongy or fluffy or anything like that. And that's why I knew that with a 2.5 millimeter, oh, that's not gonna focus. Anyway, it's a 2.5 millimeter US size 1.5 Chaogu needle. It would mean that the gauge is very dense. The way I make it, because I'm a side knitter. So I really like these. They were a pain in the butt to knit. These are cuff down socks. And these lateral braids, Latvian braids, whatever they are called, do have the effect of not having as stretchy cuff as you could, or leg as you could. But they are really pretty. The leg is not as tall as it could have been, or as in the pattern. This part is a little shorter because I knew that it would, be long enough for her in her feet. And yeah, let's see if I can get this to focus, because this is not a normal wedge toe. You have the decreases sort of facing each other. I messed them up a little bit. So there, will not try and get it to focus. But anyway, it's a little different from the normal decreases, toe decreases. But all in all, they're really nice. The yarn, I've used this before, so I knew that they'd be her size, even though there are 60 stitches in the cast on edge. So they're quite a big stitch count for a child of 6-year-old child's foot. And that is a thumbs up from her. But yeah, they're really nice. Yeah, they were a little fiddly to make, but luckily the needles have a very pointy tip, so that helped. But yeah, I'm happy with them. She's happy with them. I'm pretty sure she'll be wearing them to daycare whenever she's fit to go. She's been at home for a couple of days with the flu, and yeah. Cuckoo. Yeah, peekaboo. So yeah, we're really happy with that one. And then there are two plans that are almost as good as webs, although I don't currently have any real webs that I've been working on. The first of them is something that I've been talking about a lot, but just didn't remember the name of. So this is it. Let's just see if I can get it to show maybe a little. This is My Everything by Jorge Locatelli, and it's a cardigan that I've been planning to make for ages. I got the pattern a few years ago, but there's always been something else that I've needed to do. But now I have even swatched for it, and here's my swatch. Okay, so first I tried with just this yarn, which is, I'm gonna get the ball band. This is Concept by Katja, Catena Merino Fine Superwash, and I have the color 261, and it's 28% virgin wool, virgin wool, 22% polyamide, and what's the meterage? Ooh. Yeah, about 110 meters in 25 grams, which means times 4, 440 meters in 100 grams. So it's supposed to be fingering weight. And this is yarn, you really can't see, but this is one of those really like spongy, where when you pull it, it'll become thinner. And so I tried with just this, and I used quite a bit smaller needle than I did what I decided to do it on. I didn't like the fabric if I was to make a cardigan. This was pretty nice, but of course was trying to get the gauge of the pattern, so I knew that this would not be would not meet the gauge. So I took mohair lace. This is kid silk from Drops, and I'm not going to use this color, but just wanted to try it, what kind of a fabric it would make with a mohair silk yarn held together with this one. And I quite liked this, but it was still way too dense, and when I measured the gauge, it would not have been what the pattern is made for. So this is what I will be using. This is I used 6.0 millimeter needles, so that's US size 10, and I got 16 stitches by 24 rows, and the gauge is 15 stitches and 26 rows. So I'm just gonna have to, try it on every now and then, but I think that will be close enough, so it'll be okay. Yeah, this is what I will be starting when I get the yarn, because I only bought one skein just to see what sort of a yarn it was, and I think this will be the color. I'll just have to find a mohair silk to go with it, and I do want to have it in the same color. I don't want to have this sort of effect. This was just for getting the gauge, or trying with the gauge. So this is will be on my needles very soon. And excuse my daughter who's whistling, even though I told her not to do that. Anyway, so that's My Everything by Jorge Locatelli, and I will be starting it whenever I get to the yarn store and get the yarn for it. Then another thing, I'm just gonna leave this here. Another project that I just found. I was watching a podcast called Knitter from Next Door, I think, or Knitter Next Door, sorry. And I don't remember her name, but she had knit a t-shirt, really beautiful one, and there's a cowl. It also has already started, but the pattern will be released in a couple of days, like on the 11th of April or something. And it's a t-shirt called Kitty. Let's see if I can get it. Wow, this looks really bad. It's not gonna focus at all. Nah, sorry. Anyway, you'll see it when you see it. Anyway, it's called Kitty by Laura Nelkin. Never heard of her, but I liked it. It's knit with fingering weight yarn held together with a mohair. Not a fingering. Did I say fingering? I meant lace weight. Lace weight yarn with a silk mohair or something. And I don't have the yarn for it, but I will be going to the yarn store and then start gauging for it, because it had very interesting construction, and I already bought the pattern. It was a little less than something like €7.50 or something. So yeah, I bought that, and I really do want to knit that. That's another plan that's gonna be started very soon.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode, even though it was sort of maybe annoying with the small video clips and my daughter participating, let's say. Anyway, I'll be seeing you eventually, and until then, I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're feeling well, and I hope you subscribe, maybe comment down below. See ya. Bye.